computer, yeah.
All right. So we don't have Cassandra. Okay, she's not joining today, and Sandra is not here. But welcome again, everyone. Nice to see the wonderful faces I see again. I hope everyone had a nice weekend and are well rested. How did it go for you, Karen, the last week?
It went well, I think. Like I think Mike was just saying before, it was a very different experience to not have the structure of the issues and know exactly what we were doing. But I think we got there. Getting that actually, I should say. But yeah, definitely different to the weeks gone by.
I'm just curious, like how did you all like get to organizing yourselves? Like how did you meet? How did you go about planning? You're muted.
Sorry. Mike, you can chip in a little bit if you want. We actually, it was very difficult to get the four of us together at a particular time. So we did a lot of it on Slack rather than actually talking to each other. So we all, at Mike's suggestion, we all put together a mood board and then came back together to kind of discuss which ideas we wanted to take forward. You can chip in, Mike, because I wasn't present at yesterday's get-together, so please do add.
Yeah, so like Karen said, I think we started off with everyone just coming up with some sort of a mock-up or an idea of how they want the application to look. We just worked off what we had on GitHub, the GitHub issue, and then we're able to build some kind of mood boards, individually, and then we submitted them, and then we're able to take a look at what we had, what everyone came up with, and then yesterday, I think we spent over 4 to 5 hours on the call yesterday, just trying to discuss, how each part of the application would be, and then so working off the mood board we created, and then maybe the suggestions and the images that each person submitted. And we finally were able to come up with like a couple of issues from those. I think we came up with about 4 or 5 more issues from those, which we then shared within ourselves. And I think we're still working on those already.
Would you like to show us what you already have in terms of issue, or so not ready yet? You only just worked on coming up with the ideas for this week.
Okay, Karen, can you share your screen for the issues? I'm currently on my phone.
Be more like just walk us through like a demo if you have something working on what you have so far, and also maybe just give us roughly idea of what you plan to achieve in the next week, so we don't spend the whole time reading all the issues.
I did see that Tailwind now is there, which is, I thought, was a very smart decision, because Tailwind is the hot stuff right now. So like you will get to use it sooner or later. So I thought that was clever.
Yeah, we decided to use so I think personally I've been using Tailwind for most of my project. But I think Sandra has used Bootstrap previously, and then she suggested Bootstrap. But then I just thought, Tailwind seems like something that people are currently really using, and I felt like it would help everyone learn, to help everyone. So using Tailwind just basically for me it feels like you're still writing CSS. So I was able to convince everyone to let's go with the Tailwind. So that is how we started that. And I'm trying to see if I can quickly share my screen. Karen, can you just share your screen on the issues, so I can just quickly go over the issue while I'm still trying to boost my laptop.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Oh, cool. Thank you. So this is the one that I'm working on at the moment. I'm not particularly sure I have to say. I've done the replace the delete buttons with an icon. I'm working on the check boxes, making them look a little prettier with a pink background when they're checked. So I think I've managed to do that. Adding a filter icon onto the search bar I have done, which took me a long time. I think it should have taken me as long as it did, but anyway.
You're
Yeah, so I'm kind of sorry, go on.
That you're a perfectionist, that's why it took you longer. That's why. Because you were
Oh, my little filter icon was all over the page quite some time. Slightly frustrating, but anyway, I think it's in the right place now. So yeah, I'm kind of halfway through this issue. Do you want me to open any of the other issues in particular, Mike?
Yeah, we can start with the home page. Yeah,
The adding a pink
15.
and white background.
Yeah, 15. All right, so here okay, so for this one, we are trying to, okay, I think I have my system up now.
Recording in progress.
I think these issues, I believe, are the ones you are yet to do. So maybe you just give a very brief summary of, in general, like to summarize all the open issues you've had. And probably when Mike is ready, he can give us a demo for what you already have working.
Okay, so I think I can just give like a brief overview of all the issues we came up with. So for the home page, we're looking at the. Let me just share my screen. Let me share my screen. So for the home page, we're looking at giving it a different background than what we have currently. So we decided that we wanted to use a pink background, pink and white. Those are the colors we chose, which is a bit I don't know, so it seemed a bit feminine, but we saw some mock-up on an application, and we just thought, oh, it looks really good, and then decided to go with it. So for the homepage, we decided not to show any menus under it, because that page is just basically for the user to create to either create a new list or join an existing list. So we felt there was no need to have okay, can you see my screen yet?
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, so this is what we have for the homepage. Now, I don't know what other people have done because I think Cassandra is working on this homepage, but currently, so this is what we have. We're going to we just style this white background properly. You know, this button will have a better background, and then the join existing list will have something. You know, so we'll still work on here. I'm sure Cassandra must have done a couple more styling here. So we thought to change the name also, and then out of all the suggestions we came up with, we went with smart basket because we just felt nice. That was what everybody wanted. Everybody that was present in the yesterday's meeting. So it was what they voted on. So we thought it was better to not leave the name as a shopping list and just sort of personalize it. And we also thought to put like a basket of groceries here in the middle of the homepage. Although all of this should still we're still going to start it better, and then we have like a little bit of shadow just under the basket, you know, just to give it some realistic look. And then, like I said, we decided not to show any menus here because once a new user opens this application, is either to create a list or join an existing list. So you don't need to see the menus. But then when the user creates a new list or joins a list, so what we are trying to do on the add item page is so we want the add item page to have a white background. So this place where there is like this pink, there will be a totally white background, and the soon, not soon, and kind of soon we want to have it on one line, on the vertical line, on like different 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 background color also. And then the radio buttons, what we want to build a custom radio button for individual options. And so those radio buttons will have like different I think we decided to make the checked ones have a pink background. So basically the colors we're using are pink, white, yellow, and then so for the categories where we have the progress bar, want to make sure that so those progress bars, I think there are about 5 categories. They will have like different colors, and we'll replace the delete buttons with delete icons basically. And then as a stretch goal, we decided to include one more thing, which is to make the item which is so that when an item is checked, want to have when a user checks an item on the, or when a user clicks on a certain item on the list, you can just go to a different page where you have like the details of the item. Like you can see how many times the item has been purchased, the date of last purchase. Those information you have on the back end, you want to bring them to the front end, so you're not just seeing the products or the list, the items on the list, and the progress bar that just indicates if it's soon or not soon and all that. You also want to see how many times that item has been purchased. So if we're able to complete these other 14, 15, 16, 17 issues, then we'll move on to creating a page, like a fourth page for the item details. And then for the list item itself, want to redesign the checkboxes, want to make it circular, and then want to make the checked items, want to give the background of pink also. So basically, I think that's like an overview of how we want everything to look. And for the inspiration, for the inspiration we're using, so like this, for this particular screen, this is where we got inspiration for the home page, or how the home page will look. And I think that's some other images we also have where we got some other inspirations from. Yeah, that's basically an overview.
I had just a quick question. Are you thinking just more like a mobile application or also a desktop? Like, are you designing, are you thinking for both or
Yes,
just?
for both. We're thinking for both of them. So although some things will be similar on the two screens, but
Yeah.
we're thinking for both mobile and desktop.
Nice, cool. Yeah, it's a nice challenge because oftentimes, yeah, people are more comfortable in one than the other. Like for me, I'm way better in desktop because mobiles are very difficult to design for because they're so different variants. And like, you know, it works on my screen and I have this iPhone or whatever phone, and then someone else uses an Android from, I don't know, and it just looks different. So it's very hard then to fix for someone else's phone. But yeah, I think it's a great challenge to try to design for both.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Karen, I wanted to ask how you say you started working on it already. How is using Tailwind? How do you find using Tailwind? Yes. Are you enjoying it? Is it great for you?
I haven't used Tailwind before actually, so I've spent a chunk of today trying to learn about it. I like it. I like it much more than Bootstrap actually. It's very straightforward. So yeah, that was a good choice. And yeah, as per usual, slow but steady progress on my part.
Well done.
Just like a very useful, for me at least, Tailwind tip. Their documentation is quite good. And if you have a Mac computer, I guess on Windows it's possible. If you do Command K, it gives you like the command prompt, and then you can very easily search the documentation. So I guess could be Control K for Windows. But I love that, like, because their documentation is very searchable.
Yeah, I think Windows has an extension. VS Code has an extension for Tailwind.
There's plugins as well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Very good. Yeah, it looks promising. I like the colors. Mike, I don't think they're too feminine. I think it looks great. But don't worry about that. Peter shared a link. Oh yeah, floppy. Yeah. You're muted, Peter.
I mean, if you're checking for, I think sometimes I check the sites for like some kind of components if I want to use for the application. I think Flowby do have some template or also some ready-made components, and Radix is more like for React, it just gives you some sort of primitives for you to add Tailwind to style your component. So I think it's nice to check out as well.
Yeah, thanks. I'm doing that already. Saving them up.
And one that I started checking out recently, it's this from SHA-CN. But I think for that one uses heavily behind the scenes uses Radix and Tailwind, but it's just gives you like the code, and you just copy and paste the code on your project, and you basically can use it to create your own design system or component library. And I think I don't have any, I've seen people build stuff with it. I'm actually trying it out for my current project, but until I don't have any high opinion about it. But those are something to check out and see if you like. Also, yes, like Eva suggested, Tailwind UI. That's also some things to combine.
Yeah, like especially if you work, so we work with a designer that uses that. So like he uses components that are from Tailwind UI. So then you have to basically implement that same code. For me, it's when you borrow from other libraries, I feel like it's always a bit bloated, but it does save time, especially when you go into like more complex components like navigation menus, modals. Like those are very difficult to build from scratch in an accessible segue in an accessible way. And this leads us to our learning module for the day. Oh my goodness, that was perfect. Aristo.
Yeah, perfect pass for me. Thank you, guys. The ball is to me. Yeah. Okay. So this week's module is accessibility. Let me share my screen. You'll have to cut me some slack. I'm still a little sick.
Yeah,
But,
we can hear it.
you can probably hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. But how's the energy levels? You doing okay?
They are good. I have a little headache now and then and some cough, but I'm doing okay. Thank you. So, no. Yep. Okay. Can you see?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Perfect. So accessibility. Depending on the applications that you're going to be building, accessibility could be a big part of the process, especially when what you build is accessible to the public and by many users. Many times you will see accessibility being referenced like that, and in case you didn't know, it's the 11 letters between A and Y that make this acronym, I think, accessibility. So, according to Wikipedia, it's the inclusive practice of ensuring that there are no barriers that prevent interaction with websites on the web by people with physical disabilities, situational disabilities, because you may have broken your wrist for like a month, so you can use the mouse pad or the keyboard. So that's also kind of a disability, a situational disability. Maybe socioeconomic restrictions. For example, your internet speed is not very high. And when the sites are being developed with all those people in mind, generally the users have equal access to the information on the web page. And the W3C, which stands for World Wide Web Consortium, which is actually, you can kind of think of it like the governing body of the web that builds many standards and or like the paradigms, and are many of them actually are being decided from them. And in the US, actually, according to Section 508, all the government sites and pages that are being built, they need to be accessible by everyone. So, what should we take into account when we build with accessibility in mind? Many people use assistive technologies to access these websites, including screen readers, magnifiers, text-to-speech, and other dictation software, assistive keyboards, and refreshable displays. So it's important to build our web pages in such a manner that all these assistive technologies are able to scroll through our website and read what's in there. Some popular screen readers are NVDA and JAWS on Windows, VoiceOver on Mac, and TalkBack. I really haven't used any of them because on the projects that I have worked, accessibility was not such an important factor. But yeah, so, these are apparently the some of the most important tools. So why do we do that? I already mentioned before, so that everyone has access to the information on the web and also can play, communicate, and maybe do essential life tasks. And everyone deserves to be able to use the web with dignity and have access to it. Of course, as I mentioned before, you may be legally obliged to make a website accessible. For example, I think also in Greece and in many countries, having an accessible website, building with accessibility in mind for a publicly accessible website is always a necessity. And actually, an interesting fact that more people in the United States access websites with assistive technology than people that live in Canada in total. So yeah, we have a big we have a lot of people using websites with accessible technology, and I think it's not easy to comprehend sometimes how difficult it is to to access a website that is not being built with accessibility in mind until you use a software like that and try to go through it. So and in general, making pages more accessible for people with disabilities in general makes it more accessible for everyone. For example, if you have a form that can be accessed only with the keyboard, some power users will take advantage of that and navigate themselves faster. So taking a look at the persona spectrum, we see that there are many, people. There are many categories in that spectrum that one way or another may be accessing the web with an assistive technology, and the situations may vary. As we mentioned, it may be a permanent situation. For example, a person that has one arm, you want to make it for them easier to access a website, to complete a form or anything. So you need to keep in mind on that. Blind people, you need to have you need to build your HTML such a way that it can be readable from audio helpers. Maybe people that have a hearing problem temporarily or permanently. So you can't rely only on hearing input for a website, and people that have a speaking problem, like me at the moment, with that, or maybe a heavy accent could also be considered, as mentioned here. So in cases that you need a user input for some reason, you have to keep in mind that maybe you have users here that can speak for some reason. So it sounds a lot, and the more the more you start to build with accessibility in mind, the more the more things come up to you about what you have to do. But thankfully, HTML has has given us a lot of tools about in order to achieve all those to make our sites more and more accessible. So one and the most common, let's say, way to make a page accessible is using valid semantic HTML tags. Oh, sorry, this an example which you can find on W3 Schools is article, aside, details, figure, footer, header, main, and many others you can see. And when a reader accesses that website, and you have a semantic element like this, you kind of tell the reader that, look here, I have a header, I have a navigation bar, I have a section, I have an article. So it knows, it makes it easier for the technology to, to read that and to transfer it to people with disabilities. Also, an important part is using alt attributes on your image tags, and that pretty much is for people that cannot see, and the alt attribute is there to kind of describe what that image is. Then we have area attributes if necessary. We'll get into that a little bit more later. Another part should be that all content is reachable via keyboard, because for many reasons people may not be able to, to use the mouse. Ensure all interactive elements have reasonable target sizes. For example, a button should not be, of course, too big, but should not be also too small, because you may have people with that cannot see well, and you don't want to make it for difficult for people to interact with your website. Ensure content and tab ordering makes sense, and that pretty much it, that you categorize, if you have menus and and tabs, you categorize them in a way that makes sense. You also we always need to use sufficient color contrast, and this is something that many times we ignore, but because many people have color blindness or some similar disorder. And think, for example, that you have a chart and the color contrast that you have there is not adequate to these people. So looking at the chart, it won't really make any sense for them, and that would be another reason to don't use only color to signify something, but also use some other information like text, probably text or something like that. So moving on, what is area? As we mentioned before, stands for Accessible Rich Internet Applications, and it's a specification from the W3C, and by putting area to your HTML, you have better control over the accessibility of your website. But also misusing it can produce problems for AT users. AT stands for assistive technologies. So always keep in mind that the best option is to use HTML and reach to area if you've reached your limits with the HTML. So, for example, and as we will see next, we can actually on the slide next to that, but you can build the same thing using HTML and div and HTML. Sorry, scratch that. You will see that later. But the most important thing is that the ARIA can be used in such cases. Like here we have a button that will play the role of switch, and switch is not a native, let's say, native HTML concept. So we use the area slash check to make this work, and for the assistive technology to to scroll through that and understand that here we have a button with which is a switch and it's checked or not checked. And you always, in some cases, will need to add some CSS and JS to make it work. But this is the concept of it. So what I tried to say before, but I didn't, you can use HTML to build components like button here without using the actual tags, but usually when it's usually not recommended, and HTML adds a lot of things on top of it, and it makes it more accessible. For example, if we had written that, we would have to write functionality in order for this button to be accessible with space and enter keys and all that. So I would just suggest that you write semantic HTML wherever possible. So this is some tools that are good for identifying accessibility issues. X is one of them, accessibility insights, and you can also do guided audits and audits by accessibility testers. And there are companies that go through your website and tell you what you need to do better. And also, an old good user research with real users with accessibilities will always tell you where you need to improve. So, demo time. I haven't prepared anything for a demo, to be honest. So, yeah, that's it from me today. Thank you for bearing with me. And yeah, that's
Thank
it.
you, Astos. And the question from the mentees?
Oh, I had so many comments to make during the presentation. I forgot all of them now. But one of the things I want to say is the UK gov.uk, the government websites in the UK are really good in like creating accessible forms, the websites, everything. So that's like, and they also publish, I think, guidelines on how to design accessibly. But yeah, like Aristo said, I think designing with accessibility in mind is not, we don't just have to think about people that have accessibility issues, but everyone will benefit from clearer, better designs, better color contrasts, more navigable websites, like things like, yeah, like not just showing something with color, but also, I don't know, you've seen probably like when there's an error, people like there's a shaking or like an animation or whatever you do to make our content better is better for everyone. And yeah, and just the other, now I remember the thing I wanted to mention in Firefox on developer tools, you have an accessibility inspector, which will show you things like missing old images, but just issues that you can just quickly go and see. And the other one was the AXE, which will just show you like if there's any issues. And the last thing I wanted to say, this thing about people using divs instead of buttons is horrible.
Yeah, of course.
It really make you look like a rookie if you ever do that. So please don't do it, because you will. Buttons are there for a reason, and they have so many functionalities attached to them natively that designing them from scratch is a lot. It's not just saying this is a div with a row of a button. It's lots of things. So that is a must not do. Okay, that's all I want to say. Rant over. But yeah, accessibility is.
Yeah, totally agree. And the button thing is like an extreme example, but in websites that have accessibility in mind, using an element that is I lost my word, using a semantic element can make a difference between just using a div on your website. So yeah, totally agree. Yeah, never use div for a button.
If you will remember anything from today's lecture, this is what you need to remember.
So yeah, if you don't have any other questions or anything else to add, that's it from me.
I thought Peter was trying to say something, but were you muted? Like, go on.
I was going to say that we can blame Bootstrap for teaching everyone to use divs for buttons.
Yeah.
I think that was where I learned it then, and I also did the same thing until later.
Yeah, I'm curious whether they did some job under the hood to remedy that crime that they did.
Proved over yes. Regarding accessibility, I think also like some countries are making laws around that. I think there's one in EU, and probably maybe not heavily enforced, but I think I read somewhere I was discussing with a colleague, maybe in the next year or so, they might be heavily enforced about making all business websites accessible. And because a lot of businesses ignore it until they get sued, and then they take it very serious, and it can cost you a lot of money if you apparently get sued for such services. So if you are in the EU, at least, I think it's something to pay very good attention to and avoid getting someday.
Yeah, I agree. I think that just a quick comment that every website that is publicly accessible to everyone should be also, should be written that in a way that it's truly publicly accessible.
I just want a final comment, because videos are such a popular form of content now. Two things about videos and accessibility. One, always have captions, subtitles, because a lot of people are looking at the videos like in public and don't want the sound on. And two, please do not have auto-playing videos. Like
Yeah, that's the worst.
with sound, like you open the website and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, totally agree.
and then you're like looking for can you stop it? Or animations as well, have some really heavy disruptive animations that you can't disable easily. Yeah, okay, that's that.
Yeah, so to wrap up, I think we can start preparing to finish. So next week will be the final weekly sync, and maybe Andrew will be able to join us, but I think next week we will just go through the final demo and then do a retro to sum up. And after that, I think we can discuss maybe quickly about the recap post that we're supposed to do for the team and decide how we want to carry on from that. But also, since Eva will not be there next week, maybe we can do a screenshot with our photos so we can also have something if we don't take one for the dev post when we for the dev post. So if Michael is possible to have your video on, and we can just do a screen grab.
5 seconds, Mike, just.
I'm just going to do a test here. This is not the real one. I want to find the.
And since we're waiting, I just wanted to plug in office hours. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to host it this week. No, but seriously, I wanted to talk about, just job searching, interviews, struggle stories, experience sharing. It's not been that long ago that I've been in your shoes, so I have a good idea of how it looks like, how it feels like. If you are free, because unfortunately I'm only free one night, so it will have to be Wednesday, same time. If people are around, I would love to chat about that. Cool.
You can send me an invite too. I might join if I'm free.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. I'll add you because I already sent over. I'll do that.
Hey, we can take the picture now. If you want to make a funny pose or a nice pose or a smiley face. So 3, 2, 1. Yeah,
Okay.
I would I think I will send it to the group later, and whoever makes the post can in the future pick one from it. I think that's all. I don't think I'm missing any other 10. And the final comments from anyone? Then have a nice week, happy coding, and see you.
Thank
Thank
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a nice week.